No circumstance is accidental. Not a single person, event, or chain of occurrences comes to you by chance. Everything that appears in your life, no matter how small, is the precise result of something that already exists in your mind. The external world is not an independent, objective reality, but a mirror that reflects the contents of your consciousness. It never judges. It simply responds. What you think, what you believe, where your emotions vibrate, all of it is imprinted upon the reality you are living, without error. A woman sits in a dark room, holding her silent suffering and asking why everything around her is falling apart. Yet she does not realize that she has been looking at the world through the eyes of someone who already believes life is harsh. She expects misfortune, and misfortune comes. She believes no one understands her, and she is surrounded by people who do not listen. She feels alone, and the world responds with coldness. It is not the world that is against her. It is only being perfectly honest with what she is broadcasting from within. When you understand this, you stop blaming circumstances. You no longer ask, why did they do this to me, but begin to ask, why was this created from within me? Consciousness is the original blueprint, and reality is the structure built from that blueprint. If within you there is fear, doubt, and worry, then what appears outside will be the different faces of those very emotions, manifesting as people, situations, and outcomes. A teacher walks into a classroom with the belief that his students will be unruly. He braces himself to scold, to suppress, to control. And as if by a negative miracle, the class becomes exactly what he envisioned. Chaotic, undisciplined, resistant. But is there anything strange about that? When he himself broadcasted that signal the moment he stepped in, when he changes his belief, when he chooses to see his students as creative souls to be guided instead of subdued, everything changes. No forcing, no exhausting effort. Only by changing the inner signal, the outer mirror reflects something new. The world is always waiting for you to choose the broadcast channel. It does not create content on its own. It only responds. Just as a mirror cannot smile if your face is frowning, reality cannot rejoice if within you there is contraction, fear, anger, or inferiority. You cannot create peace in a world you believe is chaotic. You cannot attract love when inside you is the belief that you are unworthy. You cannot receive respect if you do not honor yourself. The universe does not operate by luck. It operates by resonance. When the frequency within you vibrates at a certain level, you attract to yourself everything that shares that frequency. This is not symbolic. It is a physical principle, like the sound that resonates when two strings vibrate at the same pitch. There is no favoritism, there is no punishment, only precise feedback. And if you are living in a repeating cycle of unwanted results, the only thing that needs to change is not the world, but you. The wonder is this: you do not need to change everything all at once. You only need to begin with observation. Observe what is happening around you as though you are looking into an infallible mirror. Whenever you meet someone who hurts you, ask yourself, what is within me that has attracted this? Whenever an opportunity slips away, do not blame luck, but listen, does your inner belief already hold the conviction that you are not good enough, not worthy enough? It is in this process of observation that you reclaim your power. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but become the one who adjusts the essence of circumstance. No one else needs to change. The outer world does not need to operate differently. You only need to turn inward, adjust the source, and trust that once the inner essence is different, the mirror of reality cannot hold the old image. Emotions are the quickest indicators of what you are broadcasting. A feeling of lightness, joy, openness, these are signs that you are close to your true essence. A feeling of heaviness, tension, fear, these are signals that you are straying from your nature. When you learn to listen to emotions, you are using the most sophisticated navigation system the universe has installed within you. And from there you begin to adjust. Little by little, belief by belief, emotion by emotion, like an artist tuning an instrument until the inner sound and the outer symphony become one. This is not theory to contemplate. This is truth to live with. Every morning you wake up, the world reflects what you believe to be true. And every night before sleep, that same world continues recording everything you have broadcast throughout the day. It does not forget. It does not omit. It remembers and repeats until you have learned the lesson of the mirror of consciousness. No one can do this for you. No method can replace the continuous act of self-observation and adjustment, but neither can any outside force stop you. For everything is being directed from the deepest place within you, and from there, reality begins to move. When you change, the world cannot help but change along with you. And that is the greatest power you possess, the ability to shape the world by mastering your own consciousness. Not through control, not through force, but through understanding, acceptance, and inner adjustment. This is not only a spiritual truth, it is a sacred law, and it is also the beginning of every miracle. You are looking into the mirror, and the mirror is perfectly honest. The only question that remains is, what do you want it to reflect back to you from today onward? Have you ever felt something whispering inside you, quiet yet persistent, as if a door was gently knocking from within your heart? An idea you cannot let go of, a dream that does not fade with time, an image that keeps returning to your mind, despite all the practical advice or safe warnings from others. Perhaps you once dismissed it, calling it a fanciful illusion, but strangely, it remains, never leaving, because it does not come from impulse, but from your very soul. Not every desire carries the same weight. Some arise from lack, from comparison, from habit or pressure, but some aspirations surge forth like a call home. They are not loud, but they are true, not urgent, yet unwavering. They do not demand explanation, only acknowledgement. This is not a craving of the ego. It is a direction from your essence. A baker has spent his whole life kneading simple loaves of bread, just as his forefathers did. Yet deep inside, he always longed to create new flavors, loaves fragrant with herbs from faraway lands, foods carrying stories within them. Each morning, as he kneaded the dough, he heard a different sound, not the hum of machines or customers calling orders, but the inner voice urging, "Create something only you can create." But then he whispered back, "Who will care? Who will buy? Who am I to dare think like that?" And so he continued his repetitive days, yet the longing never faded. How many times have you asked yourself, "Who am I to want more?" But perhaps the better question is, who am I not to? For if that aspiration truly comes from your soul, it is not only for you. It is part of a greater plan, a plan to make you a bridge through which life flows, to offer something to this world that no one but you can bring. Every time you hold a true aspiration, not born of greed, but of gratitude, not from lack, but from fullness that is life within you, demanding to be expressed. And if you dare to listen, dare to follow, you will realize everything the universe needs to support you has already been arranged, waiting only for your consent. The world does not lack capable people, but the world needs those who live true to their sacred calling, because only such people can awaken the sacred within others. And who knows, when you follow that call, you yourself may become the inspiration for another soul that hesitates, that fears, that needs proof that living true to one's own call is possible. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, what aspiration within you is demanding to be heard? How many times has it knocked already? And how long have you stayed silent before it? If right now you feel something stirring within an image, a whisper, a dream you once buried, know that this is no illusion. It is the deepest truth within you, yearning to step into the world. If you feel it, if you are ready to stop hiding, if you are ready to set foot on your path even without seeing the entire way ahead, even with fear still present, let me know you are here. Not only so I may know of your presence, a gift beyond measure to a creator like me, but also as a declaration to yourself that you have chosen to open a new chapter with him. You can simply comment a line, "I'm ready," or more simply, just comment the number 1. This is not merely a signal to me, but a ritual for your very soul. For when you dare to affirm your aspiration, miracles begin. It does not matter how late you are. It does not matter how many times you denied it. The soul does not blame. It only waits for a chance to walk with you, as it always has. And if today is that moment, everything from here will change. The truth is, you do not need to know every step. You only need to trust the first one. And that first step is accepting that the aspiration you carry is not wrong, not selfish ambition, but the voice of divinity within you. It is life yearning to experience itself through your form, through your work, through the love you give, through the things you create. When you live true to that, you no longer feel lost. You do not need to compare. You do not need anyone's validation. Everything becomes clear, light, profound, and even if no one yet understands you, you will not feel alone, because you know you are standing in the right place within the great symphony of the universe. Do not underestimate what you long for, because perhaps it is the very answer to someone else's prayer. Perhaps what you wish to create will reach a desperate heart somewhere. Perhaps you are the missing piece of a greater picture you never dared believe you belonged to. And it begins only when you nod to your own call. Not tomorrow, not when you are perfectly ready, but right now. The universe does not need you to be better than anyone else. It only needs you to be truer than the you of yesterday. And when you are ready, it will bring to you things you cannot foresee, for they do not come from logic, but from divine synchronicity. So if you feel something moving within you after hearing these words, do not let it pass like a meaningless moment. Seal this moment with an affirmation. Comment, "I am ready," or simply the number 1 below. Let me know you are here, and let yourself know you have chosen to listen. And when you listen, the entire universe listens with you. It is not action that creates reality, but the intention behind the action. A person can do the same thing repeatedly every day, yet the outcome will be completely different depending on what he carries in his heart while doing it. Intention does not lie in words. It does not need to be spoken, but it is the invisible current of electricity, while the outer action is merely the wire. When that current is pure, strong, and focused, then no matter whether the wire is words, work, relationships, or life choices, the result will carry the quality of what you have broadcast from your core. A woodcarver can create pieces identical in form, yet only those carved on days when he was at peace, trusting, and passionate truly carry a soul. People may not know why they are drawn to a particular piece, but it happens, because the energy of intention does not disappear. It is preserved in every detail, every stroke of the blade, every grain of wood touched with the heart. In the material world, we are fascinated by visible results. We judge a person by achievements, a product by its appearance, a choice by measurable outcomes. But the universe does not work that way. It does not look at form. It responds to frequency. And intention is the root frequency that shapes the entire flow of energy. An outward action may conform to every standard, but if it is driven by fear, by the desire to hide, by strain or calculation, then the reality created from it will carry all those distorted fragments of energy. This means that if you are living in a reality torn between success and exhaustion, between working and feeling directionless, between achieving and not feeling fulfilled, perhaps the problem does not lie in what you are doing, but in the deepest reason why you are doing it. Intention is where every miracle begins, and also where every subtle misdirection is planted. It is not that you are on the wrong path. It is only that you began from the wrong question. Intention does not need to be grand or lofty. It only needs to be pure and true. Someone may build a business not to prove their worth, but to serve the community wholeheartedly. Someone may practice healing not out of a desire to be a master, but simply because they see the light in others and want to ignite it. Someone may cook not merely to earn a living, but because it is how they transmit love. Intention creates the soul substance of everything you do. And conversely, there are things outwardly perfect in beauty, yet when one looks into the energy within, they feel empty, because what began it was not connection, but the desire to compete, not inspiration, but the fear of being left behind, not love for life, but the craving to control it. When intention is off by an inch, life veers by a mile. When you clearly recognize what is guiding you, you regain agency over reality. You are no longer swept away by the rhythm of life, but begin to create the rhythm. You are not dragged by external goals, but walk with awareness from within. And more importantly, you no longer live in reaction to what happens, but live as a creator with direction, with vision, and with energy resonating clearly with what you want to bring forth. Imagine a person opening a small shop on a street corner. Perhaps it is just a tea house, a used bookstore, or a small workshop of handmade crafts. But if every morning this person steps into their space with a clear intention, today, I am here to bring warmth to those who need a place to pause, then that energy will precede words, soak into the air, imprint itself on every item, touch the hearts of those who enter, and then people will not just come to buy something. They will come to experience a space imbued with nourishing energy, not because of low prices, not because of advertisements, but because they feel the frequency of an intention, free of self-interest, free of heaviness, free of demand, simply an honest current of flow. Clear intention does not need force. It does not need to shout. It only needs to be lived fully in the smallest things. When you drink water with the intention of cleansing your body, the water becomes medicine. When you walk with the intention of returning to the present, each step is a prayer. When you write, when you paint, when you converse with the intention to connect, to understand, to uplift, that very energy is transmitted and returns to you through paths you cannot foresee. The only caution is the confusion between true intention and disguised intention. There are times we think we are doing something out of passion, but in truth it is for recognition. We think we are helping others, but in truth it is to feel valuable. We think we are being kind, but in truth we are demanding reciprocity. None of this is wrong. It only needs illumination. When you dare to face your true intention without judgment, without embellishment, you open the door to transformation. No need to change the action, only the energy behind it. And then everything changes. Life does not reward you for how hard you try. It only responds to what you have broadcast from your mind and heart. A pure, clear, consistent intention will accomplish more than 1,000 actions carried out in confusion and doubt. Therefore, before starting anything, do not ask, "How should I do this?" but ask, "Why do I want to do this?" That answer will define the frequency you emit, and that frequency will decide whether what you want comes, how it comes, and with what quality it arrives. Intention is the starting pulse of every miracle, and you are the only one who can choose your frequency. Right now, no permission needed, no ideal conditions. Only the awareness to clearly identify what truly drives you: fear, or presence, strain, or sincerity, lack, or gratitude. When you live with a pure, clear intention, you do not need to control the outcome, because that very energy is already the strongest invitation to the universe, and the universe will not disappoint you. It is not words, nor actions, but emotions that are the strongest signal you broadcast to the universe. Every thought you have is wrapped in a certain emotional frequency, and that very frequency is what transmits waves throughout the energy field surrounding you. Like a radio that is always transmitting, you cannot not send something out. Whether you are aware or not, whether you are active or passive, you are always in a state of broadcasting. And the universe does not respond to your wishes. It responds to the frequency you are sending out right now. You may write hundreds of times an affirmation that you are wealthy, peaceful, and happy. But if, while writing, you still carry feelings of doubt, fear, and resistance, then the frequency you are truly transmitting is lack, disbelief, misalignment. Words can pretend, but emotions cannot lie, and the universe does not hear the words you speak. It hears the whisper of the emotions you carry every second, every minute. A woman sits in a cafe, looking out at the bustling street. She may be smiling, chatting, eating like everyone else, but if within her there is heaviness, doubt, anxiety, then those very vibrations are painting the next reality of her life. Every opportunity she attracts, every relationship she meets, every outcome she creates will all be colored by the frequency she is living with. Emotions are the invisible sound that radiates from you and touches everything moving around you. If you emit resentment, you will meet those who are easily hurt. If you emit doubt, you will constantly find yourself in situations where you must check, verify, control. If you emit gratitude, you will attract even more things worthy of gratitude. This is not the law of attraction in a mystical sense. This is energy physics. Every emotion carries its own vibration, and matter is simply the arrangement of energy according to the frequency it receives. What makes emotion important is not whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, but that it is the truest indicator of where you are in relation to what you desire. When you feel light, joyful, peaceful, it is a sign you are close to what you seek. When you feel tense, weary, angry, envious, it is an indicator that you are drifting away from what you want and are resonating with what you do not wish to repeat. Imagine yourself as a living instrument, and each emotion is a note you are playing. When you play the music of ease, the entire space around you begins to harmonize. When you play the music of fear, reality responds with off-key, distorted, resistant sounds. And the beautiful thing is, you can tune yourself at any time. You are not bound to a single note. You can change the melody not by forcing emotions, but by shifting attention, changing perception, and deliberately creating new emotional experiences. Chester, a farmer tending wheat fields, realized that his emotional energy directly affected his harvest. When he sowed seeds with worry about weather, markets, and the unknown, the crops grew slowly, lacking vitality. But in the seasons when he carried trust, gratitude, and love for farming on the same soil, with the same seeds, the harvest was mysteriously abundant. He did not need to prove anything. The earth simply responded to the frequency of the one who sowed it. Emotions should not be controlled by suppression. You do not need to deny sadness or dismiss anger. What you need is to learn to listen to them as signals. Negative emotions are not bad. They are invitations for you to adjust your direction. Like a GPS system telling you that you are on the wrong road, negative emotions are simply a reminder, this frequency will not take you where you want to go. Can you change your frequency? Of course. But not by ignoring what you feel, rather by creating a new emotion from within. Start with the simplest things: a moment of stillness, a gentle piece of music, a beautiful memory, a vision of the future that makes you smile. Emotions do not need a reason to be transformed. They only need you to allow a new current of energy to flow through. When you practice this daily, you will become the master of your own emotional frequency. No one else can do it for you, and no one can stop you from doing it. Because the right to choose frequency lies entirely in your hands, even when circumstances have not yet changed, even when the environment is not yet perfect. Emotion is your most sacred domain of sovereignty, and when you master it, you also master the waves of response from the universe. When a musician plays an instrument, he does not force the strings to vibrate his way. He simply tunes to the right pitch, the right strength, the right state of mind. And then the sound arises naturally, beautifully, without strain. Emotions are the same. You do not need to force yourself to feel positive. You only need to adjust your presence to awaken the truest emotion possible. And from that place, reality responds with matching experiences. Nothing changes until the frequency changes, but once the frequency changes, nothing else can remain the same. People, situations, the flow of opportunities, the rhythm of life, all will rearrange themselves according to the sound you are playing. And that sound is not in your mouth, not in your actions, but deep within the emotions you are living with. You do not need to become artificially positive. You only need to become someone vibrating truthfully with what you truly aim for. And from the moment you adjust that emotional frequency, you not only change the energy within, you also change the reality that is about to arrive. Not because you control the world, but because you have changed the sound you send out. And the universe, as always, simply listens. No door to prosperity opens to a heart full of complaints. And no miracle comes to someone who continually lives in the feeling of lack. Gratitude is not the reward after you have received what you wanted. It is the key that opens the door for it to find you. And the more grateful you are, the more you change your own vibrational frequency from a state of demanding to a state of readiness to receive, from a state of resistance to a state of harmony, from a state of deficiency to a state of abundance. The universe does not respond to pleading. It only responds to resonance. And gratitude is the most powerful way to resonate with all the good that has come, is coming, and will come. You do not need to wait until everything becomes perfect to start being grateful. You only need to pause for a moment and look around you, not to search for something extraordinary, but to realize that the very things you have long taken for granted are the foundation of every miracle. You still have breath, a body that can feel, eyes to see, legs to walk, a new day to begin again, an opportunity to love, to learn, to forgive, or simply to live one more moment. If those are not enough to be grateful for, then nothing ever will be. A man once shared that his life only truly changed when he began writing down 3 things he was grateful for each morning. At first, he had to struggle to find reasons, but gradually, his brain learned to scan the entire world with a new filter. From then on, he began to notice kindness in the eyes of strangers, warmth in the sunlight slipping through the window, and even patience within himself. He did not change jobs. He did not win the lottery. But his world changed because he changed his inner perception. Gratitude is not just a mental state. It is a signal. When you broadcast gratitude, you are sending out the message that you have already received. And the universe, perfectly honest, will continue to send more of the same. A thankful heart opens like a flower, and from there, the energy of life flows in effortlessly. Just as water seeks places without obstruction, the energy of prosperity seeks those who no longer resist with complaints, judgments, or desperate pleas. Gratitude does not mean denying what is not yet good. It only means you choose to direct your energy toward the light instead of fixing your gaze on the darkness. And that very shift in perspective changes the nature of your experience. A person living in a small house, but grateful for every corner, will find that house warm and rich in love. Someone living in a vast mansion but endlessly comparing and complaining will feel suffocated in their own castle. It is not because of the house, but because of the inner state. And that inner state is the frequency life responds to. Remember the times when someone sincerely thanked you, even for the smallest act, when they looked into your eyes, smiled, and said thank you. You felt something very real. You wanted to do more for them. You wanted to keep giving. The universe is the same. It is drawn to thankful hearts. It opens to souls who appreciate every small thing. It is awakened by those who do not wait until they achieve something grand to be grateful, but who give thanks even in the very journey of waiting. There are also times when gratitude is not easy. There are days you are tired, discouraged, unable to find anything to appreciate. And it is in those very moments that practicing gratitude becomes more valuable than ever, because it is no longer a natural reflex, but a conscious choice. Like someone lighting a lamp in the night, it is that choice that truly changes the energy state. You do not need positive emotions to start being grateful. But once you begin practicing gratitude, positive emotions gradually return like light seeping into a dark room. Prosperity does not come from what you possess, but from how you look at what you already have. Some may hold the whole world in their hands, yet their consciousness feels empty, depleted. Others may own little, yet live as if they are swimming in the sweet stream of the universe. Where is the secret? Not in the wallet, not in the bank account. The secret lies in the heart that is thankful for what already exists. Try something simple. Every morning before getting out of bed, place your hand on your chest and think of 3 things you are grateful for. They do not need to be grand. A deep sleep, a warm glass of water, a sweet message from someone. Then carry that energy throughout your day. Whenever you face something unpleasant, ask yourself, what in this moment can I still be grateful for? If you maintain this practice, you will be amazed at how the world begins to shift to resonate with your heart. A person living in gratitude does not need to possess everything, because they already live as if everything is a gift. And when you see everything as a gift, you treat it differently. You eat with gratitude, speak more gently, breathe more deeply, listen more carefully. Not because you are forced, but because you realize simply being alive is already a miracle. And the wonder is this: gratitude is not only a way for you to live more beautifully, it is the path for you to attract more beauty. From a grateful heart, you open the door for prosperity not only to reach your wallet, but to permeate every layer of life, health, relationships, opportunities, joy, creativity, and even unconditional peace. Gratitude does not change the outside world instantly, but it changes you. And when you change, what you attract also changes. No struggle needed, no battle required, only an open heart, only appreciation, only the choice to see the good. And from that place, prosperity cannot help but arrive, because you have vibrated in harmony with it, because you have become the open door, because you have remembered something that seems simple, yet is the greatest of all. Every heartbeat is a thank you to life. and that is where every miracle begins. There is an invisible boundary separating the things that belong to you from the things that are no longer in your hands. When you have not recognized that boundary, you exhaust yourself trying to control the entire world. But when you begin to understand that your task is only to plant the seed, while the sun and rain are the work of heaven and earth, you step into a state of deep cooperation with the universe. Releasing control does not mean giving up. It does not mean laziness, neglect, or avoiding responsibility. It is simply the wisdom of the soul knowing clearly what is your part and what belongs to the infinite. Human beings are programmed to control. We want to know what will happen, when it will arrive, how it will unfold, and whether it is certain. We make plans, we create strategies, we arrange every step, and sometimes all of these are necessary. But when control turns into fear, when every action arises from trying to clutch the outcome tightly in your hand, that is when the flow is blocked. The energy of control always comes from a hidden assumption. If I don't hold everything, it will all collapse. But the truth is, this world has been running for billions of years without needing you to control it. In the deep forest, no tree worries whether it will rain tomorrow. No river panics about whether it will reach the sea, and no star needs to write a detailed plan in order to shine again tomorrow night. Everything in the universe naturally trusts the sacred process of life. Only humans, with their advanced capacity for analysis, have lost the ability to surrender a state that was once our default when we were children. A child does not try to force milk to come faster. It simply cries and knows it will be answered. A child does not worry about end-of-month bills. It lives fully in the present moment. And a child does not need to know how miracles happen. It only needs to believe, and that very belief without attachment, without control, without doubt, is what brings all good things at the right time. You have done your part. You have envisioned, you have felt, you have acted. Now it is time to step away from the field and let the seed sprout in the darkness. A seed does not grow because you keep digging it up to check. It needs time, it needs space, and above all, it needs the faith that the soil will do its work. The universe is the same. It does not need your constant reminders. It does not respond to worry. It does not operate by force. It requires complete trust even when you cannot see the process, even when you do not yet know the result, even when you hold no evidence in your hand. Control most often appears when you feel unsafe. You fear that if you do not steer it yourself, everything will drift the wrong way. But the paradox is this: the more you try to hold, the more you lose. The tighter you squeeze, the more tangled things become. The more you try to force everything into a mold, the more you shrink the miracle. The universe is not as limited as you think. What you believe to be the only path is merely one of countless branches that infinite intelligence can open. And when you release control, you are not abandoning the dream. You are only letting go of the idea that it must arrive in the way you imagined. Releasing control does not come from weakness, but from inner strength great enough to know. You do not need to know everything in order to trust that the good is on its way. When you hand the rest over to the universe, you free yourself from the burden of having to get everything right. You allow yourself to live lighter, more open, freer, and in that very space the most unexpected things begin to appear. An unforeseen phone call, a strange coincidence, a door you never imagined, and all of it comes when you stop asking when, how, and simply fall silent to listen to the natural process. There is a simple question that tells you whether you are controlling or releasing. Am I acting from excitement or from fear? If every step you take is driven by the fear of not enough, not in time, not certain, then no matter what you do, the frequency you send out is still resistance. But if you do it because you love it, because you feel thrilled, because you already trust and now simply want to immerse yourself in the play, then you are cooperating with the infinite. And in that cooperation, you do not need to prove anything. You only need to be present. Have you ever watched someone surf? They do not try to fight the wave. They do not command the ocean. They only observe, wait for the right rhythm, and align with the force of the water. They use the very movement of the wave to lift them up. Releasing control is just like that. It does not mean doing nothing. It means knowing when to rise, when to flow along, knowing when to act, when to step back. and always keeping the faith that there is a greater intelligence doing what you cannot, holding a broader vision, with infinite connections, with timing more precise than any plan. Sometimes what you want does not arrive because you are holding on too tightly, and sometimes something better is waiting for you to release the old sketch so that it may enter. Perhaps you no longer need to control. Perhaps you only need to trust. Trust that everything unfolding is not against you but for you. Trust that movements you cannot see with your eyes are happening every second. And trust that when you release yourself from the cramped circle of control, you will fall into the very arms of cosmic order, where everything comes at the right time, in the right way, with the right people, for the right dream. Let go, not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to understand. Your part is done. Now it is time for the universe to do the rest. Every seed has its own blooming schedule, not because the soil is slow, nor because the sun and rain have forgotten to arrive, but because life always has an order. When you place a wish into the universe, you are not throwing it into a void. You have begun a sacred process in which time no longer depends on the clock on your wrist, but rests on the deep synchronization between your soul and the entire operation of life. Sometimes what you pray for does not come immediately, not because you are unworthy, but because you are being prepared to truly receive it. And in that time of preparation, waiting is not emptiness, it is a sacred part of the journey. Have you ever seen someone hastily pull a cake out of the oven a few minutes too early out of impatience? What is the result? A golden crust on the outside, but raw within. A surface that seems ready, but a core not yet mature. Your desire is just like that cake. If you force time, you may get what you want, but it will not last, will not bring fullness, will not satisfy you from within, because you are not yet truly the one capable of holding it. Time is not slow. It is precise to every moment, and if you are waiting for something great, that very thing is also waiting for you to become a version broad enough, deep enough, still enough to hold it without dropping it. The universe never says no. Sometimes it only says not yet. And when it says not yet, you are not being rejected. You are being invited to grow within, so that what you receive does not become a burden but an expansion. Sacred timing is never late. It is the moment when every necessary element is in place: people, environment, energy, frequency, intention, awareness, readiness. If even one piece is missing, what you desire cannot retain its original purity. So if right now you are moving through a journey where the result has not yet appeared, understand that you are not being delayed, you are being shaped in a mold. And no mold presses you harshly. It only holds you with an order higher than logic. Waiting does not mean sitting still. It is a state of acting from calmness. It is continuing to sow, continuing to nurture, continuing to live deeply, but without worrying about when the seed will sprout. When you obsess over, when will I see results, you withdraw energy from the present and plant it in the insecurity of the future. But when you know everything is unfolding exactly as it needs to, you become anchored, and in that anchoring, you attract what you desire without chasing. There is a kind of person who always lives in when. When will the promotion come? When will that person arrive? When will the dream come true? But there are also those who live in now, with wholeness, with gratitude, and with the faith that they are being guided step by step. The latter are not passive, but neither are they frantic. They are patient not because they are weak, but because they understand that the process of the sacred always surpasses the plan of reason, and when the time comes, nothing can hold it back. Just as spring does not arrive earlier simply because people long for it, it comes when the earth tilts enough, when the temperature shifts just right, when the light lengthens to the exact threshold. And in the same way, the most beautiful things in your life will come at the right time without you needing to force them. You only need to keep becoming the version vibrating in resonance with what you desire. When you live as if it is already true, then even if it has not yet taken form outside, you have already placed yourself at the point of synchronization with sacred timing. The greatest fear in waiting is not that what you want will not come, but the helpless feeling of not knowing where you are in the process. Yet in that very moment, if you turn inward and sense that life is still moving, breath, heartbeat, the flow of emotion, you will see that subtle processes are still operating that you do not need to know in detail. Just as you do not need to know what each cell does to heal a wound, you only need to keep it clean, still, trusting the wound will heal. The dream will too. When you lose patience, you are not wrong. You are only being invited to shift from the time of the ego to the time of the soul. The ego wants quick, certain, immediate, but the soul knows there are layers of growth that cannot be shortened. There are shadows you must pass through so that the light beyond them does not blind you, and there are fragments of the past that must be deeply closed so that the future is not infected by unhealed cracks. Try looking back at the things that came to you at the right time. The times you thought everything had ended, yet an opportunity appeared. The times you thought you were rejected, only to realize it was hidden protection. The times you felt lost, only to discover that the wandering itself had led you somewhere deeper. When you look far enough, you will see time has never betrayed you. It simply does not obey impatience, but always serves perfection. And so, if today you are waiting, do not let your mind label this period as delay, waste, or useless. Call it by its true name, the forming stage. It is in this stage that you are being prepared to become fertile soil, so that what you await will not only arrive, but also take root, grow, and blossom. No moment is wasted in the process of the universe. Every silence is accumulating toward an outburst. When the time is right, every door will open on its own. When you are at the right frequency, everything aligned will find you. And when you live as if it is already ready, you no longer need to count minutes. Because you have stepped into sacred time where there is no anxiety, no forcing, only the deep trust that everything is arriving, at the right time, in the right way, with the right people. And you, through your quiet patience, are the signal to the universe that you are ready. There is a force stronger than reason, faster than any step, and more precise than any plan you could draw. That force is faith. Not blind faith, not vague hope, but the deep trust arising from the place within you that knows with certainty. The things you desire are also seeking you, with the same intensity of longing with which you are seeking them. Faith is not what you have when everything is favorable. Faith is what you hold when nothing is visible yet, when the outside is still empty, when reality has no anchor to grasp, but inside you already know it is coming. The material world you live in is woven from frequencies and vibrations. Every thought, every emotion emits a signal, and faith is the strongest signal of all. It does not need repeated prayers. It does not need logical proof. It is not loud. But when faith is present, the universe cannot help but respond. It is like a broadcasting tower, so powerful that everything corresponding is pulled toward it. When you believe, you are not merely someone waiting. You become a living magnet, drawing in everything you have already accepted as true. It is not what you want that creates the miracle. It is what you believe about what you want. Some people dream all their lives yet never receive, because deep down they never truly believed they were worthy. Others seem to be constantly visited by good things, not because they are lucky, but because they do not doubt. They are completely aligned with the state of having. And when you step into that state, you do not need to do much. The universe arranges it. If you look at a suspension bridge hanging over a deep gorge and you only cross once every cable has been inspected and every joint confirmed secure, that is not faith, that is calculation. But if you know in your heart that you are guided, protected, upheld, and you step forward before the bridge appears beneath your feet, that is faith. And when your step sends out that signal, the bridge begins to form under each step you take. Faith does not ask you to shut your eyes to reality. It invites you to see a greater reality already existing in parallel, even if you cannot yet touch it. Just like radio frequencies are always present around you, though you hear nothing until you tune to the right channel. Faith is that tuning. When you believe, you synchronize. When you synchronize, you receive. And nothing can stop a soul that has tuned itself to the frequency of what it desires. Remember the moments when you once believed completely, not because someone told you to believe, but because you felt it, knew it, could not explain it in words, yet it was as clear as if that truth had been engraved in you before you even asked. In that state, you felt you were no longer alone. You felt you no longer needed to strain to control everything, and strangely things began to happen. Coincidences, doors opening, the right people arriving, clear messages, not because you did more, but because you believed deeper. The world does not operate only through physical action. It operates through belief. You see it in athletes who win simply because they believe they will. You see it in those who overcome illness not through medicine, but through absolute faith in recovery. And you have seen it in yourself, in moments when you let go of doubt and walked as if miracles were the natural order. When faith appears, fear has no ground to live on, because you are no longer living by what the eyes can see. You are living by a higher reality, where all good has already been given. Faith is the key that unlocks the door between that realm of reality and this world, and you are the one holding that key, no one else. Many ask, how do I get faith? But the truth is, faith does not need to be learned. It only needs to be uncovered from the layers of doubt piled upon it through the years. You once had faith in the first time you jumped into water and trusted you would float. In the first time you trusted someone without asking for reasons. In the first time you did something simply because in your heart you knew it was right. Faith is still there. You only need to stop asking, is it certain? And start asking, if it were certain, how would I live? Live as if what you desire is already here. Give thanks as if it has arrived. Act as if you are cherishing it, not to force it to come, but to demonstrate that you believe it is on the way. And when you live like that, you send out the frequency of someone who has already received. And in this universe, energy does not lie, it only responds. Faith does not create what you want. It pulls you onto the exact timeline where it already exists. It is not that the miracle comes after faith. It is that faith generates the current that makes the miracle inevitable. And what you are waiting for, whether love, health, opportunity, or peace, has already begun to seek you from the moment you believed it was real. So if tomorrow what you want has not yet taken form, do not rush into doubt. Check your inner frequency. Ask, what am I broadcasting? If it is doubt, return to feeling. If it is fear, return to gratitude. And if it is impatience, remind yourself, everything you truly believe is already on its way, in a way more perfect than you imagined. Faith is not waiting for the miracle to happen. Faith is the miracle. And when you walk with that belief, the world no longer reflects what you fear, it begins to reveal what you have already believed to be true. Everything you have ever dreamed of, everything you are waiting for, and even the things that still seem out of reach, can only begin from one place. Right here, in this very moment. Not tomorrow, not when everything is perfect, not when you have all the conditions. True power does not lie in the future, nor in regrets of the past. It resides where you are present. The present moment is not a bridge leading to what you want. It is the very door through which what you long for will step, if only you are willing to open it. We are often caught in the illusion that, with more time, more knowledge, more experience, more support, then we will finally be able to truly live. But the truth is, you lack nothing. The only thing you need is complete presence in this very moment. No distraction, no doubt, no conditions, only full presence, as if this is the one moment you have the right to create something new. Every time you delay action because you think you are not ready, you refuse the chance to create a new flow in your life. Every time you turn back to the past to analyze, to blame, or to regret, you withdraw energy from the present, the only place where you can change anything. And every time you vaguely think about the future without roots in the present, you are only building a castle on sand. The present is not a stepping stone. It is the foundation. You cannot love without loving in the present. You cannot heal without beginning right now. You cannot create if your awareness is stuck somewhere outside of real time. The present is the sacred space where mind and soul meet. It is where you can feel most clearly that you are alive, not merely existing. And from that feeling, all resources begin to rise. Ideas, inspiration, clarity, strength for action. Those who succeed are not different because they know something you do not. They succeed because they are fully present in every moment they live. They do not miss the present to drown in what-if or if-only scenarios. They look straight at where they are standing and begin from there. They understand that a single small action done right now, in deep connection with reality, has more power than hundreds of plans existing only in the mind. This moment, if you truly pause and listen, you will notice a very subtle stream of energy moving, not from outside, but from within you. It is the energy of life inviting you to cooperate. Nothing needs to be rushed. You only need to agree. You only need to stop dismissing the present as if it were temporary. You only need to give it the reverence it deserves, for the present is the only place where you can truly touch life. Many ask how to change their life. The answer is always, begin from this moment. Even if yesterday you failed, even if this morning you were hurt, even if just a minute ago you still doubted, this moment is still a pristine opportunity. It is untainted by the past. It is not yet shaped by the future. It waits for you to mold it with intention, emotion, awareness. Every moment is a blank page. The question is not what you wrote yesterday, but what you will write right now. When you give yourself wholly to the present, you enter the state of synchronization with pure creation. No more barriers of fear, no more noise of comparison, no more pressure to achieve. Only a deep clarity remains, that everything you need is already here, not in its final form, but in its purest potential. And it is your full presence that activates the process of turning potential into reality. The present is not only the moment you are living, it is where you choose the frequency you will emit. It is where you choose the words you will speak. It is where you choose the actions you will take. And each of those choices, even the smallest, is a brick shaping destiny. When you live in the present with a creative spirit, every passing minute is no longer just time, but the living material of the soul. You are no longer being swept away. You begin to navigate. If you are waiting for a sign to begin, this very moment is the sign. There is no clearer signal than the awakening inside you that says you do not want to delay any longer, that you do not want to live as someone who only makes plans, but as someone who creates. And if you are asking yourself, what should I do? Then do what you know is right in this moment, no matter how small. Real movement does not come from giant leaps, but from steps taken in full presence. The present moment is the forge of the soul. It is where every lesson is integrated. It is where every potential is activated. It is where every beginning is real. You may think about the future, but do not live in it. You may learn from the past, but do not let it pull you away. Freedom does not lie in time, but in awareness of the present. When you are wholly here, you are not just living, you are co-creating with the universe. So look around. Feel your breath. Notice the light, the sounds, the touch. All of it is inviting you to return, not to escape, but to begin. No need to wait for another condition. No need to ask anyone's permission. No need for confirmation from anything outside. This moment is the door standing open, and you only need to step through. In that complete presence, every miracle becomes possible, because you are standing in the place where true power begins, right here, right now. In the deepest temple of consciousness, there is a door without a lock, a room with no guard, yet few ever step inside. It is a place not bound by the laws of physics, not governed by the logic of this world, not restrained by old memories. That room is called imagination, but not imagination used to escape reality, sacred imagination, the place from which every miracle that has ever existed was first born. You cannot create anything unless you first envision it. No building is ever raised without first appearing in a blueprint. No music ever resonates unless it first resounds in the mind of the artist. And no life is ever transformed without first being seen through the inner eye. Imagination is the primitive sketch of reality, and what you allow yourself to imagine is exactly what you allow yourself to receive. The material world always comes afterward. It does not begin, it only follows. Everything you see around you, from the chair you sit on to the entire life you are experiencing, is the result of imagination, conscious or unconscious. But when you realize you possess this sacred room, you are no longer someone swept along by reality. You become the one who redraws it, the sculptor, the one who brings new light into familiar shadows. In the state of deep imagination, you do not merely see what you desire, you live in it. You touch the emotion of it being real. You hear the sounds, sense the sense, catch the rhythm of a new breath. And the strange truth is, The universe does not distinguish between real and imagined if the emotional frequency you emit is authentic enough. It only knows to respond to the signal you send. And if that signal is, "I am living in this miracle," then that miracle cannot help but appear in some form. Inventors, artists, great pioneers, they did not begin with tools, money, or ideal conditions. They began with an inner image. From a space seemingly invisible, they entered with trust and stayed long enough for that image to grow sharp, vivid, and eventually inevitable in the material world. They did not think something new, they saw it first. That room of imagination is always open, but you can only step inside through stillness. It is not found in the noisy layer of consciousness. It lies deeper, where you stop judging, stop analyzing, stop doubting. When your mind grows quiet, imagination begins to speak, not with words but with images, sensations, intuitions. And in that state, you can rebuild your entire life before any change has yet occurred outside. There are no limits in that room, except those you impose on yourself. If you imagine something small, you will live within small patterns. If you dare to imagine something great, you allow the universe to operate on a higher level through you. Not because you are ambitious, but because you consent for a greater potential to flow through you. Imagination does not demand you know how. It only asks that you be brave enough to picture what if it were true. And once you envision clearly enough, feel deeply enough, and hold that image long enough, you will begin to see small changes, a chance encounter, a sudden inspiration, a door opening. These things do not come because you tried. They come because you connected with the timeline where what you imagined is already reality. And the universe, with absolute precision, will bring you closer to the image you planted. Let each day become a ritual of stepping into that room. It need not be long. It need not be elaborate. You only need to turn off the noise, close your eyes, and envision what makes your heart sing. Not to escape what is, but to give yourself a new choice, a new image, a new vibration. And every time you do this, you are weaving new threads into the vast fabric called your life. If you have ever doubted the power of imagination, remember the things you once feared, the negative scenarios you imagined, and then they became real. Not because they were destined, but because you unconsciously broadcast them long enough to draw them in. Imagination does not distinguish between light and dark. It only amplifies what you sustain. So be conscious, be selective. Cleanse that room each day and keep only the images that expand you. Because imagination is not a child's game. It is the soul's secret gateway. It is the place where you and the universe meet to co-create. The place where you stop playing the victim and begin becoming the sculptor. Everything you have ever admired, ever desired, ever regarded as miraculous once lived in someone's imagination. And now, it is your turn. That room is still there, waiting for you to enter. It asks nothing but one thing. Do not limit yourself. Imagine as if you are a free soul, unbound by time, circumstance, or past. Step into that space as though you are stepping into your own home, because truly, it is where you belong, the place you can begin again at any time, and the place where every miracle already waits to be called by name. Not every pain needs to be erased. Some wounds do not ask you to forget, but invite you to look again with new eyes. For memory, even when it once dragged you to the depths, also carries within it a kind of precious fuel if you know how to touch it without being drowned. The question is not whether the past exists, but how you are using it. Are you allowing memory to pull you backward, or are you using it to lift yourself higher? In the hands of an awakened soul, old pain is no longer a burden. It becomes fire that melts limitation. It becomes fuel for transformation. We grow up carrying layers of memories never fully processed, words spoken carelessly, losses never grieved, moments of being left behind, moments that seemed invisible to all. But memory does not vanish. It imprints itself into your cells, your nervous system, the way you respond to life. It hides in nameless fears, in the ways you avoid love, in the sense of unworthiness you cannot explain. And if never faced, they will keep repeating not to punish you, but to invite you to heal. Healing does not mean everything becomes fine overnight. It is not painting over wounds with a pretty layer, nor pretending nothing ever happened. Healing is the process of returning to look at the child within you, who was once hurt not to blame but to embrace. It is when you dare to listen to the anger you once denied. It is when you admit you were weak, you fell, and yet you are still here, still moving forward, and that alone is already a miracle. No wound is meaningless. Every experience, no matter how bitter, holds a hidden gift, but you only receive that gift when you are ready to walk through it with the light of awareness. Pain does not dissolve on its own with time. Time only teaches you how to live with it. Only facing it can release it, and in the moment you stop running, stop playing strong, and allow yourself to melt a little, it is within that softening that something new is reborn. There are memories you never need to tell anyone, but you need to be honest with yourself, to stop building other stories to justify them, to be brave enough to say, "That hurt me, but I no longer want to carry it." Forgiveness does not mean you agree with what happened. It simply means you choose not to let it imprison your energy for one more day. Forgiveness is the gift you give yourself. It is when you cut the rope of the past, anchoring the boat that longs to set sail. Memory can become the darkness pulling you down, but it can also become the beacon guiding you home. It all depends on how you see it. There are those who were broken by the very thing you are overcoming, and there are those who rose brilliantly from the exact place where you now stand. The difference is not in circumstance. It lies in the decision: do you turn memory into a scar that lingers forever, or into the foundation for a deeper version of yourself? Look back at the things that once hurt you most. Perhaps you lost someone. Perhaps you were betrayed. Perhaps you once felt not good enough, not chosen, not loved. But if you look closely, you will see it was those very moments that awakened something in you. They made you ask, who am I beyond this pain? What do I choose from this moment on? And that question itself opened a door, a turning point, an opportunity that without the wound you would never have reached. Healing is the journey of withdrawing energy from the old script, from the familiar roles, and beginning to rewrite your story. No longer the victim, no longer the one permanently wounded. You become the storyteller, the one who reconstructs the meaning of the past, the one who says, "That happened, but it does not define me. I choose to define myself, here and now." Each memory, if transformed, becomes a key that opens compassion, opens understanding, opens the capacity to empathize with others on a deeper level. You are not only healing yourself, you are becoming the doorway through which others may pass. Because a person who has suffered yet still carries light, that light will guide those still lost in the dark. And in this world, nothing is more beautiful than a human who once shattered, yet still chose to stand, still chose to love, still chose to live authentically. Not because they forgot the past, but because they knew how to use it as fuel. They let memory push them toward the light instead of pulling them into the pit. They stepped out of the loop and created a new orbit, the orbit of the active, the conscious, the one who touched bottom, yet never stopped rising. If you are still carrying an old pain right now, do not rush to chase it away. Sit down, light a candle within, and invite that memory to enter, not to reopen the wound, but to make peace, to say, "Thank you for coming, but from now on I will not live by you anymore." And the moment you do this, you have begun a rebirth, gentle, quiet, yet deeper than anything you have ever known. The wound is no longer weakness. It is the mark of the journey. It is the place where light once slipped through the cracks. And if you keep it as part of yourself without letting it rule you, you are living in your strongest state, the state of one who has transformed pain into a source of light. And from that light, everything new can begin. There is an invisible yet powerful rope, binding many people to the very things they think they have already overcome. That rope is not pain, not memory, but the absence of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not simply a noble act. It is a profound spiritual force, a powerful decision to free yourself from the past, from what has happened, from those who once hurt you. Forgiveness does not change what happened, but it completely changes the future you are moving toward. Some people carry anger for decades. They hold on to it as if it were part of their identity. They tell the same story over and over, reopen the same wound, as if to emphasize that they are right. But what they do not realize is this: that very act is blocking their inner energy. The more you hold on to unforgiveness, the more you cut yourself off from the flow of creativity, from fresh emotions, from the life force inviting you to move forward. Forgiveness is not an act for others. It is a gift you give to yourself. The other person may never feel remorse. They may not even remember what they did. But that does not matter. Because you do not forgive to change them. You forgive so you no longer carry them on your shoulders. To be lighter, brighter, freer. Because only then can you step into the present with hands no longer shackled by the past. There is a truth few want to face. Anger is a form of imprisonment. You may think it makes you strong, that holding it is a way to protect yourself from being hurt again. But in reality, it only closes you. It closes your heart, limits your vision, distorts your intuition, and most importantly, it cuts you off from the natural power within you. You cannot both carry resentment and open yourself to new miracles. Forgiveness is the act of cutting away old energy so that life can flow again. Forgiveness does not come from force. It comes when you are tired of carrying the burden, when you are clear enough to realize holding on to hurt does not make you more noble. On the contrary, it only makes you repeat the very thing you despise. Forgiveness is an act of deep awareness. It is a conscious choice to stop. It is how you tell yourself, I choose not to allow that to affect my life force any longer. Imagine every resentment you hold as a stone tied to you. Each day you walk, you carry another weight. At first, you may still feel you can bear it, but gradually it slows you down, bends you over, steals your ability to see far and dream big. And one day, you forget you were once light. You mistake exhaustion for natural, but that is not you. That is you while bound. Forgiveness is when you untie each stone, not by force, but by understanding that you deserve freedom. Forgiveness does not mean allowing someone to keep hurting you. It does not mean erasing all boundaries. Forgiveness is when you are strong enough to say, I no longer feel anger, but I also do not allow that to repeat. It is forgiveness with wisdom, with strength, with self-respect, because when you truly forgive, you no longer need revenge, no longer need to prove anything. You are simply no longer controlled by it. There are things that may seem impossible to forgive, a betrayal, a great loss, a deep wound. But remember this, forgiveness does not come from justifying wrongdoing. Forgiveness comes from refusing to imprison yourself in that pain one more second. When you truly forgive, you reclaim the energy that has been flowing outward to sustain resentment. You bring it back, and when that energy returns, it nourishes you, it heals you, it opens the door to things you never thought you deserved. Look at those who have truly forgiven. They are not weak. They are strong in a quiet and radiant way, because only when you rise above the wounded ego can you touch the sacred essence within yourself. Forgiveness is not surrender. It is the ultimate victory, the victory over yourself. And that victory needs no recognition. It reveals itself in the way you walk lightly, the way you smile without strain, the way you look back at the past and no longer feel pain, only the knowing that it once was. If in your heart there is still someone who makes you ache when you think of them, that is a signal, not for you to avoid, but for you to know you need to return, not to reopen the wound, but to say farewell to that burden. Breathe slowly, call their name, and say, with no one else needing to hear, I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve freedom. And if you cannot yet say it sincerely, that is all right. All you need is to begin. All you need is the intention. The rest will open on its own. Forgiveness is a simple yet profound miracle. It does not change the past, but it releases you from the repeating cycle of pain. It opens a different future, where you no longer carry old baggage, no longer react with old patterns, no longer tremble at what once broke you. And in that lightness, you reconnect with the pure current of energy that has always been waiting to flow through you. Life never stops flowing, but it only flows where there are no blockages. Forgiveness is the act of clearing the stream, untying the ropes, reopening the door. And when you do that, not only does your inner energy revive, but opportunities, miracles, and new relationships also begin to find their way to you. Because in the end, you have become an open flow, and the universe always chooses to move through such a place. No river can keep flowing if it is blocked by old rocks. No room can welcome new light if the windows remain shut and every corner is filled with things that have lost their value. And no journey of growth can unfold if the mind still clings to what once was but no longer serves your expansion. Letting go of the old is not a loss. It is the act of clearing space so the new can step in. Many people plead for change. They long for a better future, a new beginning, another opportunity. Yet they do not realize they are still holding tightly to what is outdated, a relationship that has died in silence, a dream that no longer fits, an identity that once gave them safety but has now become a chain. And when you clutch the past, your hands have no space to hold the present, let alone welcome the future. Letting go does not come from exhaustion, but from awakening. Awakening to the fact that you no longer need that thing to define you, that you have already gone through that stage, learned the lesson, gained the experience, and now it is you, not that thing, that matters to keep. Everything else may dissolve. Because the new can only come into an empty vessel. Nothing is more abundant than a heart that knows how to clear space. There is a deep illusion that letting go means giving up. But in truth, letting go is returning. Returning to your original state, clear, open, vast. Returning to the part of the soul untouched by the dust of time. When you let go of the old, you are not losing anything precious. You are simply reclaiming inner space. Space that had been crammed with worry, regret, or unrealistic expectation. That space now returns to you, for you to create, for you to breathe, for you to live in rhythm with yourself. The old is not only objects or people, it can be a way of thinking, a limiting belief, a mental habit that keeps you looping through the same cycles. Sometimes you may already be ready for the new, but inside you still hold old echoes. I am not worthy. That will not happen for me. It is too late. Those echoes are like dust inside a bowl, preventing you from pouring in something fresh. Letting go can simply mean switching off that noise, to hear instead the gentler call, the call of possibility, of life, of what could be. There are things you have held on to for so long because you once believed that if you let them go, you would have nothing left. But the truth is, when you release, you are not empty. You are free. Like the backpack you carry every day at first, it held only essentials. But over time, you stuffed it with too much. Then one day, you realize your back aches, your steps slow, and the moment you set it down, you discover how light you are, how much faster, further, deeper you can walk into your own journey. Letting go does not need to be dramatic. Sometimes it is just a small act, rearranging a corner of your room, deleting a contact long unused, writing a letter never sent, exhaling an old thought. That is not an ending. That is a beginning. Every release is a signal you send to the universe, I am ready. And when you are ready, the new always arrives. Not loudly, not hastily, but precisely, at the right time, with the right person, with exactly what you need for the next step. Do not be surprised if, after letting go, you feel sadness. That is the sadness of transformation. Like a tree shedding its leaves to prepare for a new season, it does not cry for what has fallen. It stays silent, but inside it is preparing for a stronger burst of buds. And so are you. Do not think letting go is weakness. On the contrary, it is an act of profound courage. The courage to step out of the familiar and into the unknown. And only in the unknown can you discover miracles. You may be holding on to a part of yourself, fearing that if you let it go, you will lose yourself entirely. But remember, you are not the job you once had, the relationship you once held, or the beliefs you were once taught. You are the one who observes all of that. You are the awareness capable of renewal. And if you allow yourself to be renewed, you will see the old falls away on its own, the new walks in by itself, and you remain whole, but deeper than ever. Letting go does not make you lacking. It makes you complete. Complete with the present, complete with yourself, complete with the possibilities waiting to be named. For when you are full of things that no longer fit, you cannot recognize the opportunities already standing before you. But when you clear, like a gardener pulling weeds, you will see this soil is still fertile, still capable of sprouting. still able to become the garden of what you truly desire. If you feel caught at a crossroads, look at what you are holding, not to blame yourself, but to understand this. Every journey has a point where the old baggage must be set down, not to lose but to continue lightly. And when you truly let go, you do not lose what belongs to you. You are simply clearing space, and that very space is the invitation for miracles to begin. The universe does not need you perfect, only open. And openness always begins with one simple act, letting go of the old. In a world that is constantly in motion, where everything seems tied to a hurried rhythm, very few realize that one of the most powerful actions is not moving forward, but pausing. Not procrastination, not retreat, but a deliberate stepping back to listen, to observe, to reflect. For wisdom does not arise in noise, it emerges in stillness. And sometimes the answer you are seeking does not lie in doing more, but in stopping at the right moment. Pausing is not losing direction. On the contrary, it is how you reclaim direction within yourself. When you stop, you are not turning your back on the journey. You are clarifying why you began, clarifying whether the path still aligns with your heart, clarifying what truly matters and what is only temporary disturbance. A single pause in the flow of life can save you from a long stretch of detour. And it is that very act of stopping that can become your farthest step forward. Every sage has chosen silence at some point, not because they lacked words, but because they knew. Stillness is the soil where wisdom can take root. Just as the ocean reflects the sky only when its surface is calm, your mind can only reflect truth when it stops rippling with worries, reactions, desires. When you pause the endless race, you begin to hear more clearly the inner call, not the voice of fear or old habits, but the voice of the deepest part of you, the part that has never lost its way. Reflection does not come simply from sitting still. It comes when you are truly present in that stillness, when you stop not to wait for something to happen, but to truly be with yourself, to be with each breath, to be with the emotions rising up, to be with the nameless silence that the mind usually avoids. And when you dare to stay in that stillness, something miraculous happens. You not only hear truth, you become part of that truth. People often fear silence, thinking it is emptiness. But silence is not empty. It is full of life, full of signals, full of clues for what you are seeking. It is just that, in the constant noise, you have forgotten how to listen. You have lost the sharpness of intuition, that which never shouts, but always whispers. And you can only hear it when the rest of the world quiets down. Pausing is also a reminder that you are not a machine. You were not created to endlessly produce, endlessly react, endlessly fight. You are a living being, and to live means to have rhythm. The rhythm of action and the rhythm of rest, the rhythm of rising and the rhythm of returning. When you honor the pauses, you are resetting your entire inner system. You refresh the mind, you revive the heart, and you allow your soul to breathe. In stillness, you also realize that many things you once thought important are merely background noise. Conflicts, comparisons, meaningless competitions, they all fade when you step into the space of silence. You no longer need to prove. You no longer need to argue. You simply are present. And that presence is strong enough to dissolve illusions. That is the power of pausing, doing nothing, yet transforming everything. Some think they do not have time to stop, but the truth is, if you do not choose your own time to pause, life will pause you. Perhaps through a collision, a crisis, an event that forces you to step back. So choose to stop while you are still in control. Choose silence while you are still clear enough to listen, not when everything has already become too loud. That is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Pausing is also the chance to recognize what is truly driving you. Are you living on reflex? Are your recent decisions born of fear rather than trust? Are you chasing something no longer aligned, only because you once promised, once dreamed, once invested in it? Only by stopping can you gain enough distance to see clearly. And from that clarity, you begin to adjust. No noise needed, no upheaval required. Just one decision from within, and your entire direction begins to shift. Reflection is also the stage where the seed within you begins to sprout. Not from applause, not from external pressure, but from the very stillness you dare to hold. Each person has their own rhythm of life. And if you do not allow yourself to pause and hear that rhythm, you will always be swept along by someone else's. Stillness is where you remember your own rhythm. And when you walk from that rhythm, you no longer need to chase anyone, because you have found the way home. In modern life, pausing can be as simple as turning off your phone for an hour each day, sitting in silence before starting the morning, walking without a goal, just to feel the ground beneath your feet, taking a deep breath before answering someone. These seemingly small acts are the very doors through which you enter the depth of yourself, and in that depth there is wisdom, not borrowed wisdom, but wisdom born from true contact with yourself. Pausing does not make you lost. It keeps you from losing your way. It does not make you weak. It makes you strong in the right place. It does not slow you down. It takes you further. And most importantly, reflection does not steal your time. It gives you time of higher quality, clearer, more effective. For no step can be steady without a step of pause. Stillness is not the empty gap between two actions. It is the most vital part of the symphony of your life. It is where you hear the voice of the sacred. It is where you remember who you are, where you are going, and why. And when you step out of that stillness, you carry with you a kind of strength that is not loud, but unshakable. A strength born from within, a light that needs no proof, a wisdom that can only arise when you are brave enough to pause and reflect. There is a kind of surrender that makes you weak, directionless, broken from within. But there is also another kind of surrender, stronger than any action, because it does not come from failure, but from a deep understanding that there are things greater than yourself, that there is an order beyond the reach of personal will, that there is an invisible river where true wisdom lies in flowing with it rather than resisting. This is not surrender because nothing else can be done. It is surrender with wisdom when you choose to trust that life knows better than you about the timing, the direction, and what is truly right. This kind of surrender is not the same as giving up. Giving up is losing faith, withdrawing from life. Surrender with wisdom, on the other hand, is stepping into life with deeper trust, calmer, more peaceful. It is understanding that you do not need to turn the world with your own hands. You only need to tune your mind to the right frequency. Let yourself fall into a state of receptivity and allow what is coming to come without forcing, without controlling, without doubting. Like a boat no longer thrashing against the current, but gently setting its sail to the wind, because the rower has felt the true rhythm of the river. We are taught that the strong are those who never stop, never collapse, never yield. But the truth is, the wise are those who know when to move forward and when to stop, when to act and when to surrender. Not surrendering to circumstances, but surrendering to the higher wisdom that moves within every circumstance. Because sometimes what you are desperately holding on to is the very thing preventing you from reaching what you truly need. And what you do not dare to release is the very gate leading you to freedom. When you surrender at the right time, you release a vast energy that had been trapped in control. You no longer have to strain to make everything happen. You no longer have to plan every detail, worry about every scenario, check every possible failure. Instead, you enter a state of receptivity where everything unfolds in its own rhythm, and you no longer need to impose. And in that state, true clarity appears. A flower does not rush to bloom. A rainstorm cannot be summoned by begging. A spring does not arrive earlier, no matter how much you long for it. There is a profound intelligence in nature, a sacred schedule no one can rewrite, and you are part of that flow. When you surrender to this sacred order, you do not become smaller, you become part of the whole, and the great wisdom of the whole moves through you. Surrender with wisdom does not mean you no longer have dreams. On the contrary, you still hold the dream, but without the tension. You do not give up the goal, you give up resistance. You still act, but from a state of serenity. You do not try to force fruit to ripen before its time. You simply tend to the roots each day, trusting that when the season comes, the fruit will fall into your hand. And if that season comes later, you know that the universe is never late, it only arrives when you are truly ready. The hardest part of surrender is not the action, but the inner state, because the ego always wants to hold control. The ego wants certainty, wants speed, wants recognition, but the soul is different. The soul does not rush. The soul does not fear loss. The soul only needs you to be still so it can speak, and in the moment you release personal will, you truly hear your soul, not through words, but through a deep inner sense, the feeling that you are being guided, that you are not alone, that there is a greater force walking with you. It is also in surrender that you feel life's strange support. A door you could not open with strength swings wide when you stop pushing. A person you searched for so long appears the moment you release the search. A creative idea bursts forth when you stop analyzing. What seems like miracles have always been there. They only take form when you stop forcing. Perhaps what you most need now is not another strategy, another plan, or another goal, but a pause for surrender. Surrender to see that you do not have to do everything. You only need to do your part, the rest is already arranged. Surrender to stop fighting the current and start trusting the intelligent order of life. And it is that trust that is the truest act of strength. Life does not operate by pressure. It operates by rhythm. When you dance to your true rhythm, you do not need to try so hard. You do not need to chase with exhaustion. You become fluid, harmonious, profound. And that is the beauty of one who knows how to surrender with wisdom, not abandoning themselves, but trusting in what is greater than themselves. Not extinguishing the dream, but placing it in a hand far wider. By surrendering, you do not become small. You become free. Free from the pressure of having to know everything. Free from the fear that you are wrong. Free from unnecessary expectations. And in that freedom, you begin to see the true path, not blurred, not weary, but gentle, certain, and full of light. Try once to let go at the right time, not to give up, but to give what is right a chance to enter, not to lose, but to open, not to collapse, but to lift your head and see the larger picture where you are not the center of the universe, yet are loved as though you were everything. And in that awareness, surrender is no longer failure. It is the beginning of a whole new way of living where you do not control all things, but live with all things, trust in a higher order, and allow sacred wisdom to truly move. No one wishes for upheaval. No one wakes up in the morning hoping for everything to be overturned. And yet, there are days when it all collapses. A door you thought would never close suddenly shuts. A plan long nurtured shatters into pieces. A relationship, a belief, a familiar part of life falls away like a dry branch in a storm, and we call it loss, failure, crisis. But sometimes, hidden in the ashes, a tender shoot is beginning to rise. The universe does not destroy to end. It breaks apart to reshape. And upheaval, though painful, is not the final punctuation mark. It is a cleansing, a restructuring, a way for the old too cramped, outdated, or distorted to be forced into dissolution so that space can be cleared for the new to enter. When an old forest burns, the ecosystem does not die. It begins again. The first shoots only emerge after the fire has passed. And in human life, it is no different. Some upheavals strike like an unexpected blow. We are pushed out of our comfort zone, thrown from familiar positions, forced to confront what we never wished to face. And in that moment, all existential questions surface. Why me? Why now? What did I do wrong? But it is also from that very place that another kind of wisdom begins to speak, not the wisdom of logic or control, but the wisdom of the soul, of growth beyond all old patterns. Upheaval forces you to look again, not outward, but inward. It reveals cracks you once hid. It drops the masks you once wore. It illuminates the things you lived with but never truly understood. And that is the beginning of rebirth. No new life ever arrives without dissolution. No new self is ever born without being forged from fragments. The strongest people are not those who have never faced upheaval. They are those who walked through it without letting it kill the light in their hearts. They are those who once fell, but instead of turning to stone, they softened. Instead of building thicker walls, they learned to open. Instead of freezing in anger or bitterness, they let tears wash the past. They let truth, even when harsh, cleanse the wound. And it is there that true strength is born. You do not need to pretend that upheaval does not hurt. It hurts, very much so. But do not let the pain blind you to something deeper. You are being reshaped, like steel in fire, like gold in the furnace, like a new form in the womb of darkness. Upheaval does not come to destroy you. It comes to strip away all that you no longer are, so that the truest part of you can step into the light. Each time life forces you to begin again, it is not punishing you. It is granting you a rare privilege, to choose again, to live again, to redefine yourself free from the chains of an old version. And if you have the courage not to see upheaval as an enemy, but as a messenger of destiny, you will discover, beyond loss lies a land. No one has ever walked before a land, where you yourself will plant each seed with trembling yet wiser hands. True rebirth does not begin with a forced smile or a denial of pain. It begins when you accept that a part of you has died and that this is all right. It begins when you stop asking, "Why did this happen?" and start asking, "What wants to be born from here?" It begins when you cease blaming, cease resisting, cease pretending to be strong, and start truly listening to what is being called from the depths within. In the darkest times, your soul does not extinguish. It only waits for you to be still long enough to notice. The light has never left. It is just that your eyes are clouded with tears, with broken expectations, with wounds unhealed. But when you accept to walk through the night without needing explanations, carrying only the trust that dawn will come, you are truly growing. Rebirth does not have a fixed shape. For one, it may be the start of a new journey. For another, it may be an ending accepted in peace. For someone else, it may be releasing a role worn for too long, to return to being oneself without strain, without compromise, without confinement. And whatever form rebirth takes, it always comes with one condition. You are willing to let the old burn away, without regret, without clinging, without trying to save what has expired. If you are in the midst of upheaval, do not rush to find an exit. Seek meaning instead. Observe the layers you are being invited to release. Let the fire burn away, not you, but what is no longer you. And then, in the ashes, find a seed. Perhaps small, fragile, its form unclear, but it is something sacred rising from the ruins, a new life, a new self. You reborn from the very fire that seemed as though it would consume everything. Life always changes, but the deepest change rarely comes through ease. It comes through tremors, through moments of facing truths not easy to hear, through times when everything seems to fall apart. Yet if you dare to go all the way into the pain without running, you will step out the other side not only with a scar, but with a new vision, deeper, clearer, truer. Upheaval is not a curse. It is a rite, a sacred ritual of life reserved for those ready not just to live, but to become. And in that becoming, you will realize, all that ever burned away was only the shell. The seed within long ago was always waiting for the day to sprout, and today, perhaps, is that very day. The universe does not stand still. Everything alive is in motion, from the beating of the heart to the orbit of planets, from the cycle of water evaporating and falling as rain, to the quiet currents inside the body. All of it operates on a fundamental principle, circulation. And at the deepest layer of every phenomenon, hidden within, is a sacred rhythm without which life cannot exist, the rhythm of giving and receiving. You don't need lofty theories, only to pause and observe your breath. When you inhale, you receive. When you exhale, you give. And the miracle is this: you cannot receive more without first exhaling. You cannot keep air locked in your chest without suffocating your body. Likewise, you cannot keep demanding from life without giving. You cannot hope to harvest without planting. You cannot receive love without opening your heart. The flow of life is a closed circle, and any point that is blocked creates stagnation. Giving does not make you lose. Receiving does not put you in debt. Because when you understand the principle, you will see giving and receiving are truly one. They are not separate, but two faces of the same stream of energy. When you give kindness, you create the space to receive kindness. When you give help, you open the possibility of receiving support from the most unexpected places. And when you learn to receive without shame, without suspicion, you allow others to experience the joy of giving. Many people have learned how to give, but not how to receive. They are used to carrying burdens, used to sacrificing, used to offering but afraid to open their hearts to accept. Yet balance cannot exist if you only exhale without inhaling. Endless giving does not make you stronger. It only leaves you depleted if you do not practice the art of receiving. You are worthy of receiving, not because you are perfect, but because you are a part of this sacred circle, and if you refuse to receive, you are refusing your very role in the flow. On the other hand, some people only want to receive. They want to be loved, cared for, recognized, supported, but they are not yet ready to give. They want abundance, but do not dare to share. They want compassion, but do not know how to listen. They want connection, but keep their hearts sealed behind walls. And the result is this: they live in spiritual hunger, not because life is lacking, but because they have shut the valve. No one can inhale forever without exhaling. No one can receive endlessly without giving. The universe runs on circulation. A river remains pure only when water flows continuously. The human heart remains at peace only when love is not withheld. Life is abundant only when you allow things to move through you as naturally as breath, without clinging, without closing, without fearing loss, without fearing emptiness. Because the source of life is not in what you hold in your hands, but in the capacity to let it pass through you. Giving does not have to be material. Sometimes the most precious thing you can give is your presence, a gentle gaze, a word of encouragement at the right time, a silence that allows another to be themselves. And receiving does not always come in tangible gifts. It can be the trust someone places in you, the opportunity life sends through an unexpected door, the quiet reminder that you are loved, even when no one says it aloud. Look at the seasons of the year. Spring arrives to sow, summer to grow, autumn to harvest, winter to settle. No season plays the only role. No season lasts forever. The cycles of nature are the greatest lesson on giving and receiving. When you learn to harmonize with this cycle, you will see life is not lacking. It is only waiting for you to open at the right moment. There are things you are seeking that will not come by working harder, but by exhaling, by sharing, releasing, giving away what you have clung to out of fear of not enough. And conversely, there are gifts you have long awaited that have not yet entered your life, not because they do not exist, but because you have not opened to receive. You have not believed you are worthy. You have not believed life can be easy. You have not believed love can arrive without conditions. Look back at the turning points in your life. Perhaps you once gave so much and felt as if you received nothing, but ask yourself, were you willing to receive? Did you believe you were worthy of good things? And if the answer is no, perhaps it is time to practice inhaling, to practice receiving not just gifts, but light, not just material, but healing, not just opportunity, but the unconditional love the universe has always held for you, for the one learning to return to the original rhythm of life's breath. No one is only a giver. No one is only a receiver. Each day is a breath. You give, you receive. You share, you gather. You open, you are filled. Do not resist this rhythm. Do not close yourself off from the part unfamiliar to you, because it is in the full harmony of giving and receiving that you truly live. No longer fearing lack, no longer striving to have, but experiencing a natural fullness as breath, as rivers, as the sun that shines without needing a reason. And so, when you live in this flow, you no longer ask, when will I finally have what I want? Instead, you smile quietly and say, I am already in the river of life. Everything is arriving and leaving at the right time. And that is the greatest freedom, to live without force, to receive without fearing debt, to give without expecting return, because you know this. The universe always acknowledges every breath. No one can love you more than the way you love yourself. This is not a sweet phrase meant to soothe the emotions, but a subtle law that governs every relationship, every experience, and everything you attract into your life. Every word spoken to you, every action you receive, every opportunity or challenge that comes your way is a mirror, reflecting how you see and treat yourself at the deepest level. The external world does not dispense or judge. It does only one thing. It responds. And what it responds to is the signal you are sending out, not only through words or surface desires, but through the deeper vibration where you silently believe you are worthy or not, abundant or lacking, lovable or needing to struggle for acceptance. And at that level, if you see yourself as secondary, as not good enough, as someone who must sacrifice in order to be loved, then no matter how you present outwardly, the world will respond to you in exactly the same way you are treating yourself. Self-love is not arrogance. It is not looking at yourself through a lens of false admiration. Self-love is the ability to accept fully both the light and the dark, both strengths and weaknesses, both successes and unhealed wounds. It is when you stop comparing, stop criticizing, stop forcing yourself to be someone else in order to deserve love. It is telling yourself, wherever I am, whoever I am in this moment, I am still worthy of kindness. Many people spend their whole lives searching for love, yet forget to ask, have I ever truly loved myself? They long for someone to arrive and fill them, heal them, validate their worth. But love from the outside cannot sustain you if inside you still reject yourself. A compliment cannot stay if within you there is a voice of constant criticism. A hug cannot touch your heart if you are silently hating yourself. Because everything you receive, whether from others or from the universe, passes through the filter that is you. You cannot demand the world to value you if you are the first not to. You cannot ask others to be kind if you have not yet learned to be gentle with your own mistakes. You cannot hope someone will see beauty in you if every day you stand before the mirror, searching only for what is imperfect. Self-love is not a luxury. It is the foundation, the root, the first layer of energy you must adjust if you wish to change the way life responds to you. And remember, loving yourself does not require you to become perfect first. That is the greatest misconception. Perfection will never arrive. And if you keep waiting until everything is fine before you allow yourself love, you will wait a lifetime. Self-love does not come after success. It is what leads you to success. It does not come after you change your body, your job, or your relationships. It is the engine behind every true change. When you love yourself, you no longer act from fear, from lack, from the need to prove. You act from wholeness, and that energy shifts everything gently yet profoundly. Self-love is also the way you speak to yourself, the words you use when you make a mistake, the voice you whisper when you look in the mirror, the decision you make when choosing between pleasing others or maintaining your boundaries, the way you allow yourself to rest or continue believing you must do more to have value. Every small choice sends a message to your subconscious. Am I important? Am I protected? Am I worthy of good things? And the subconscious remembers. It builds your self-image from the things you repeat every day. If you want the world to treat you with love, respect, and gratitude, begin with yourself. Learn to be kind not only when things are going well, but also when you fail, when you are tired, when you fall short of expectations. Learn to place your hand over your heart and say, I am doing the best I can in this circumstance, and that is enough. Learn to care for your body as a dear friend, not as a machine that must endure you. Learn to forgive old mistakes, not to forget, but so they no longer drain your life force. Self-love does not come overnight. It is a journey. But each step on this journey opens a door. Once you begin to truly love yourself, not for anyone, not to prove anything, but simply because you realize it is the right thing, you will see the world begin to change the way it looks at you. Opportunities arrive more gently. People around you seem less tense. The responses you receive from life become softer, more harmonious, more breathable, not because the world suddenly became better, but because you changed the way you treat yourself, and the world only reflects that back. Loving yourself is not a destination, it is a state of being, a space you create for your soul to rest, for your heart to breathe, for growth to unfold without being suffocated by judgment. And from that space, everything good you once longed for, love, success, peace, will find its way to you, not to save you, but to resonate with you. And finally, self-love is not something you must obtain, but something you have always had. It only waits for you to stop hiding it, stop denying it, stop searching outside, and return, gently, to reclaim what has always been there, a love that is original, unconditional, demanding nothing, judging nothing. That love is you. Everything alive has its own rhythm. Every seed, no matter how small, needs time. No one plants in the morning and demands to harvest that very afternoon, because there is an unchanging law. For a seed to become a tree, it must be germinated, covered in darkness, watered with hope, and waited upon with faith. Patience is not postponement. It is a state of maturity where you do not need to see results immediately to believe that the process is working. It is a deep understanding that some things cannot be rushed, cannot be forced, cannot be shortened. For if you dig up the seed every day just to see if it has sprouted, you do not help, it only disrupts the life quietly unfolding beneath the surface. You cannot tug at the petals to make the flower bloom faster. You cannot pull the sun up before dawn. You cannot force your heart to heal before its time. Some processes in life must be respected, because in silence and in darkness, the most sacred things are being formed. And patience is the art of keeping your heart at peace while your eyes still do not see. But modern humans have been taught to demand fast, immediate, as soon as possible. We are enchanted by results, yet neglect the process, wanting to move into the next chapter without writing each line of the current one, wanting to reach the destination without learning to walk steadily. And then, when life does not respond instantly, we easily fall into doubt, anger, even giving up, not because what we long for is not coming, but because we lack the patience to stay until it ripens. Look at nature. No rain arrives simply because you beg for it. It comes when there is enough moisture, enough wind, enough vapor, and then it arrives naturally, without your intervention. Life is the same. All good things come when they are ripe, mature, and deep enough. Not because of luck, but because of the quiet yet persistent preparation you carry out each day. And patience, not haste, is what keeps you steady while life has yet to turn. There will be times when you feel that all your efforts fall into emptiness. No one notices, no one acknowledges, nothing seems to change. But it is in those very moments that you are cultivating, watering, tilling the soil of your soul so the seed has a chance to rise. The deepest changes do not happen in glorious moments, but in the quiet of today, when you keep going without praise, keep believing without guarantees, keep persisting even when results remain unclear. Patience is not sitting still and waiting for something to happen. It is steady, consistent action, a commitment to yourself, a choice not to quit, even when you have every reason to. It is how you tell the universe, I trust enough to wait. I honor this journey enough not to shorten it. I am wise enough to understand my timing will come, and I do not need to rush to prove anything. Just as you cannot drink water from a stream that has only just begun to flow, you cannot pick fruit from a tree that was only just planted. Let time do its part. Trust the process. And while waiting, live as if what you long for is already on its way toward you. For when your patience comes not from fear, but from faith, you are aligning your frequency with the rhythm of all that is good. There will be moments when you see others reach their destination faster, others succeed sooner, others seem not to wait as long as you. But remember, everyone has their own season. Some arrive in early spring, others in late summer. Yet every season has its beauty and its reason for being. You are not late. You are in the right place, at the right time, in the right process. And only when you stop comparing will you truly begin to live fully in the season you are given. Patience is a gift you give yourself to not lose what is good, simply because you do not see it yet. It is the skill that helps you live deeper, slower, and therefore more sustainably. When you understand that the strongest tree is the one that grows slowly, because its roots need time to anchor deeply into the earth, you will also understand why the most profound things in life must be nurtured with patience. And if today you feel weary, discouraged, lost because you have yet to see the sweet fruit of your efforts, remember this. The seed does not die when it lies in the soil. It is simply doing the quiet work of sprouting. And you, if you are still persisting with what is right, if you are still watering your dream, if you are still keeping the flame of faith, then you are on the right path. Keep going, keep steady, keep quietly. And then, one morning when you no longer expect anything too soon, you will see the sprout has risen, the flower has begun to bloom, and you will smile not because a miracle just happened, but because you stayed patient long enough to see it arrive. And that is the greatest miracle of all. Transformation is not always loud. Progress does not always take a clear shape. Some of the most powerful things unfolding are the very ones you cannot see with your eyes. And that is the nature of every invisible process where the surface seems still, yet inside a quiet earthquake is taking place. You will not see a tree grow a few centimeters each day, but you know it is growing. You will not hear your heart healing after an emotional wound, but one day you suddenly realize the pain has softened. You will not see the light each time you choose a positive thought over a negative one, but your entire energy field is gradually changing. The universe does not work through display, but through quiet precision and order. Many people give up simply because they cannot see anything obvious. They think, "I've done everything, so why is nothing happening?" And then they stop, withdraw, return to where they started just when the process was about to complete. Like someone digging a well who is one strike away from reaching water, yet quits because they have seen nothing for too long. Because they do not see, they mistake it for nothing happening. But unseen does not mean non-existent. There is always a part of life unfolding at a deeper layer, like roots growing underground, like a child forming in the womb, like currents at the ocean floor, silent but full of power. And what is most remarkable, the invisible part is always the foundation of the visible. Every manifestation is the final result of a chain of quiet movements behind the scenes. You cannot see the waves of energy weaving themselves in the invisible, but they are what create the reality of your tomorrow. When you pray, when you visualize, when you feel your desire as though it is already present, you are sending out a command. But that command is not answered with fireworks or ringing bells. It is received in silence. And the process begins not according to your clock, but according to the rhythm of what is being arranged. Perhaps today you see nothing, yet in the subtle realm, energy is already restructuring. Elements are being drawn together, doors are quietly opening. People, events, and synchronicities are being moved into place. Everything is happening, even if you do not see it. And that is when you must trust more than ever. Trust in what has yet to appear. Trust in a process wiser than logic. Trust that if you have planted the right seed, in good soil, with a sincere heart, it will sprout at the right time. The question is no longer when, but am I peaceful enough to wait? Not has it arrived yet, but am I maintaining the frequency of what I desire? Faith is not truly measured in the moments when results are easy to see. It is measured most accurately in the moments when you see nothing at all. When all evidence says nothing has changed, and yet you keep moving forward. When the whole world is silent, yet you persist in living by what you know is true. When you no longer need outside confirmation to feel safe, because you have learned to live from within where the voice of intuition is clearer than the noise of reality. Have you noticed? The sun still rises whether you watch it or not. Your heart still beats without your command. Breath still flows in and out whether you think about it or not. There are millions of processes taking place in your body at this very moment, quietly, rhythmically, intelligently. And that is undeniable proof. The invisible process is real. The universe operates in the same way, silent yet constant, unseen yet never random. If you are in a phase where nothing seems to be happening, do not retreat. See it as the yin stage of the yang process, as the pause between two pieces of music, as the darkness of the soil before the seed bursts forth, as the stillness before life erupts. And what you can do now is keep living with deep trust. Not blind faith, but trust refined through experience, through observation, through understanding the ways of the universe. Guard your energy. Keep sowing positive thoughts. Live as though what you desire is moving toward you bit by bit. Because in truth, it is happening right now, in this very moment that seems most quiet. Do not destroy the process with doubt. Do not dig up your belief whenever you do not yet see results. Let it live. Let it have the chance to become real. For when you truly understand the invisible process, you will no longer be impatient. You will no longer feel the need to hold everything in your hands. You will walk with ease in each step, with lightness in each choice, with calm in each day, because you know everything is being arranged. Everything is taking shape. Everything is drawing closer with every minute, every second. And at the exact moment, what you are waiting for will arrive not early, not late, but precisely in the timing of a higher intelligence orchestrating it all. And when that happens, you will smile not because of the final result, but because you have matured enough to live with the process, peaceful, understanding, and unshakably strong. No building is ever constructed without a design. No tower ever appears simply because someone wished for it. The universe is like a great architect. It does not work on random whims. It needs a blueprint clear, consistent, and detailed. And that blueprint is not drawn on paper, but in your mind, in the way you imagine, feel, and believe in what you desire. If you dream of something but cannot picture it specifically, if you constantly change your desires according to fleeting emotions, if you send out a signal that is vague, chaotic, or doubtful, then the universe cannot coordinate with you, not because it refuses to help, but because it does not know what to build for you, just as a construction team cannot begin if the design changes every day. A dream is not just a passing wish. A dream, when properly designed, becomes the guiding signal for all flows of energy. But design here is not merely jotting down a few notes in a notebook. It is a process of making a clear choice. What do you want? Why do you want it? What are you willing to give in order to step into it? And are you steadfast enough to hold that frequency? The universe listens to emotions more than to words. It responds to the frequency you emit, not the words you write on paper. Therefore, a true dream design is a harmony between the images you hold in your mind and the feelings you carry in your heart. When those two align, you have begun to send out the most vivid blueprint the universe needs. Imagine you want to build a house. You cannot simply say, "I want a beautiful house." You need to know how many rooms, what architectural style, which colors, open space or closed, with natural light or not, what surroundings, what role does this house play in your life, and how will you feel living there each day? The more specific, the stronger the blueprint. The truer the emotion, the clearer the frequency. This is not to force you into controlling every detail. On the contrary, you are cooperating with a higher intelligence. But for that force to work effectively, you must know what you are asking for. Otherwise, the universe will only reflect back mixed signals, and the result will be an inconsistent reality. Many people think dreaming is a childish game, but the truth is, imagination is the most sacred tool humans have been given, for it is the place where you build every possibility that has yet to exist. Someone who has never loved can still picture a complete love. Someone poor can still draw an image of living in abundance. Someone in pain can still imagine a state of peace. And from that very space, the dream begins to take shape. But design cannot be rushed. You cannot sketch it carelessly and then complain when things do not go your way. Nor can you dream of one thing today, doubt it tomorrow, and replace it with something else the next day. Design requires seriousness, not heaviness, but sincerity toward your own desire. As though you are truly contributing to the construction of your life, not outsourcing it to fate. One reason many people do not see their dreams materialize is because they only wish, but never build. They send out weak signals, then let go. They let doubt ruin the original blueprint. They do not return to the design daily, do not nourish it with feeling and faith. And the result is that the universe receives a faded design it cannot execute. But if you are willing, begin again. Close your eyes and clearly envision what you truly long for. Not what pleases others, not what is trendy, but what makes your heart come alive. What feels as if it already belongs to you even before it appears. Feel that space. Touch its surface in your mind. Walk inside that house. Sense its scents, its light, its sounds, its rhythm of breath. And most importantly, remain there in gratitude as though it already exists. The universe does not build from matter. It builds from energy, intention, and faith. And you are the one who lays the first brick by designing your dream in the most honest and precise way. Do not worry if you do not yet have all the answers. You do not need to know every step, but you must know the destination. When you hold that destination firmly, the steps will reveal themselves. Your dream is not something outside you. It is the deepest part of your soul that wants to be seen, wants to take form, wants to become part of this world through you. And when you are clear enough, the universe will begin, not because you forced it, but because you sent the exact blueprint. And then everything will begin to align. Synchronicities appear, opportunities emerge, doors you never expected begin to open. Nothing is too small to dream of, and nothing is too big to bring into reality. As long as you are willing to design it with clarity, with faith, and with a living heart. The design of your dream does not begin in the future. It begins in this very moment. And if you are ready, so is the universe. Every emotion is a note. Every thought is a beat. Every choice you make creates a harmony vibrating within the frequency of the universe. Life is not a pre-recorded track where you merely replay familiar patterns. It is a symphony unfolding vivid, flexible, and full of creative potential. And you, whether you believe it or not, are holding the conductor's baton. Every great symphony begins in silence. In that still moment, the conductor does not command but listens. He listens to the rhythm inside himself, to the breath of the orchestra, to the anticipation of the audience. And then, with one gesture, he brings it all into sound on tempo, in tune, with the right emotion. Mastering emotions is not about control or suppression. It is the ability to sense, recognize, and then consciously orchestrate them, like precious instruments in the music of your life. A person who does not master emotions is like an orchestra without a conductor, the drums too loud, horns blaring out of order, strings pulling off beat, and the chaos does not merely create discordant sound, it makes the entire piece unbearable to hear. Conversely, when you are aware that you are keeping time, you begin adjusting your inner space like a true artist. Not every emotion must play at once. There are lows and highs. Sometimes silence is the climax. Sometimes anger is necessary, but all of it is guided by you from the center, not swept away, but conducted from the deep foundation of awareness. Emotions are not enemies. They are maps, signals, living energy trying to tell you something. When you feel anger, it may mean your boundaries have been crossed. When you feel sadness, it may mean something inside you needs healing. When you feel envy, it may mean a part of you has not been acknowledged. But if you only react, letting them steer you like a rudderless boat in a storm, you lose your agency. You are no longer the conductor, you are merely an instrument being played at random by untamed emotions. Mastering emotions is a journey of presence. You cannot master what you do not recognize, and you cannot recognize what you continuously avoid. Instead of fleeing emotions, observe them as you would listen to each sound in an orchestra. Which voice is dominant? Which one is being drowned out? Do you need to change the tempo? Is there a note off-key that requires fine-tuning? The special thing is, no one else can do this for you. No one lives inside you long enough, deep enough to conduct in your place. No doctor, no lover, no teacher can step into your mind and transform each note of emotion for you. Only you. And when you realize this, you stop seeking outside. You turn inward to where the conductor's baton has always been waiting for you to take hold. Mastering emotions does not make you unfeeling. On the contrary, you become more refined, more sensitive, not manipulated yet not numb. You can cry when needed but not drown. You can be angry when it is right, but not destructive. You can rejoice to the point of dancing, while still keeping the inner core from being inflated into illusion. Everything becomes sacred, because you are fully present in each emotion. Emotion is moving energy. When you know how to use it, it becomes fuel. When you don't, it becomes a chain. Someone full of motivation is simply one who knows how to use positive emotions as fuel. Someone weary is one being dragged by negative ones. But energy is still energy. The question is not, what emotion am I having? But, how will I conduct it to create a harmonious composition? You can begin with the simplest practice. Stop and listen. Before reacting, breathe. Before judging, observe. Before shouting, ask, what inside me needs to be understood? And in that pause you will hear the background music of your own being the sound you thought had been lost in life's noise. When you return to the center, what is outside no longer has the power to throw you off tempo. Life does not promise to always be gentle, but when you are the conductor, you know how to turn even the lowest notes into the opening of a crescendo. You do not need to erase all negative emotions. You only need to learn to place them in the right spot. Just as a composer chooses the right moment for a minor chord before the triumphant resolution of a major harmony. And something miraculous happens when you practice this daily. Gradually, you not only master emotions, you begin to shape the very atmosphere around you. Wherever you go, people sense your steadiness, your peace, your harmony, Because you are no longer led by emotions, you are leading them. And the universe, as a vast orchestra, will listen to that guidance and align itself with the symphony you are composing each day. You are the conductor, not by chance, not because someone else chose you, but because you have always been so. The symphony is waiting for you, and the baton has always been in your hand, ready to begin right now. Nothing needs to be forced in order to stay. No one needs to be chased in order to remain. No opportunity needs to be begged for in order to knock at your door. When you are yourself, whole, clear, and unhidden, what belongs to you will arrive, not too early, not too late, never out of rhythm with the flow. The true self is not a version shaped through training, nor an ideal you must strive to reach. It is not tied to titles, roles, or the effort of becoming someone else. The true self is what was already there before the world told you who you should be. It is the original light beneath every mask, the primal frequency you radiated before you even learned to speak, the first heartbeat that began when your heart was newly formed. Society teaches you how to become better, but rarely does anyone teach you how to return to yourself. You are encouraged to change, to adapt, to become acceptable, and little by little you drift away from your pure essence. You start living as if you were an edited version, a persona revised to fit someone else's standards. But life does not respond to what you pretend to be. It only responds to what you truly are. The pure self never demands. It does not need to prove. It does not need to shout to be seen. When you are in that state of authenticity, you no longer seek validating gazes. You no longer need to claim a place. You no longer worry about being enough or not enough, because deep within you already sense clearly. Everything that is drawn to you comes not because you strive, but because you resonate at the right frequency. Perhaps you have grown weary of trying to fit into a world that demands too many standards. Perhaps you have wondered whether you need to change again, just to be loved, acknowledged, or chosen. But at some point, after trying every way and still feeling empty, you return and discover fullness does not come from changing to fit in, but from remembering who you are. The pure self is not afraid of being left behind, for it is not the part that chases. It is the center toward which everything aligned will naturally come. You no longer need to prove your worth. You become magnetic without effort. You do not try to attract, you simply shine. And real light, unembellished, unpretentious, always has its own pull, even if no one ever taught you that. When you live from your true self, relationships become healthier. You do not love to fill a void, but to share fullness. You do not connect to escape loneliness, but to expand presence. You do not work to be recognized, but because you are expressing your essence through action. Each decision becomes clearer. Each choice arises from harmony rather than fear or lack. One of the clearest signs that you are living from your pure self is this. You feel light, light in thought, light in emotion, light in relationships, no longer needing to control, no longer needing to calculate. Because you have stopped forcing yourself to be something, you simply are, and allow the flow to carry you exactly where you belong. That lightness does not come from laziness or lack of discipline. It comes from a deep understanding that all force creates dissonance, all pretense creates blockages, and all blockages stop the flow of miracles. The true self does not try to control. It resonates, and when you resonate rightly, the universe arranges everything else. When you are yourself, you no longer fear losing, because you understand if something leaves, it is no longer aligned with the frequency you emit. And if something comes, it does not come by accident. Everything becomes an echo of your being, every event a reflection. There is no more happening to you. There is only what arises from you and returns in tangible form. The pure self does not compare. It does not need to look at another's life to define its worth, because it knows. Every soul carries a unique design, a singular rhythm, and if you try to be someone else, you erase the symphony written uniquely for you. You cannot outdo someone at being them, but you can be yourself in a way no one can replace. Living from the pure self is a journey of return, returning to the first calling, to the innocent gaze before you learn to hide, to the honesty of a heart that had never feared hurt. You do not need to be perfect to begin. You only need the courage to be truthful with yourself in this moment. Begin by breathing deeper, softer, and asking, if I were not afraid, who would I be? You did not come here to please the world. You came to remind the world that there is a way of being that does not fight, does not shout, yet still moves everything. And that way of being is not far away. It is you, when you are you. When you live from your pure self, you no longer search for a mission. Your life already is the mission. You do not need effort to become valuable. You already are value. And you do not need to chase anything to feel enough, because at the deepest level, you already are enough. And in that state, everything meant for you will find its way. Not because you pursued it, but because you have become the very field that draws it in.